I am turning it over to you, Lloyd.
All right, so thank you very much, Andrew. So we are now starting week 104 of our Indigenous Global Unity Summit event. This is my first week in Taiwan, finishing up, I guess, day 8 of being overseas. So now, as we move forward with the IGU Summit, I have made some modifications to the land acknowledgement. So as we acknowledge those who came before us on this land, I do like to say this land acknowledgement to say we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples. We recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources. We're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land that I am residing and visiting here in Taoyuan, Taiwan is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Austronesian Indigenous people who have lived on this island for over 8,000 years. The East Formosan tribes of the Atayal peoples of central and northern Taiwan, also known as the Tayal or Tayan, meaning human or man. And where Taoyuan City in this modern age contains 16 different Aboriginal groups whose population exceeds 70,000, making Taoyuan the most populated city for Indigenous peoples on the western part of the island. We also acknowledge that the Indigenous Culture Center of Taoyuan City, first established in May 2004, has become a gathering point for the Indigenous peoples, as well as being listed as one of Taoyuan City's story houses, and whose totem poles on Rainbow Avenue express the Indigenous spirit with beautiful lines, and where the colors at the base of each totem pole derive from the costumes of the different tribes, integrating with the unique landscapes of Taiwan to symbolize the unity of all ethnic peoples. We'd like to thank the Indigenous peoples of these lands, including the Atayal, for sharing this land with us. In our role as settlers and visitors and displaced people on this land, we share the responsibility of challenging and disrupting colonial systems that enact violence upon the land and stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. We also acknowledge and recognize all the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So this is my slightly modified Indigenous land acknowledgement from this morning. Since I am in Taiwan, I wasn't able to do that kind of research before I left. So with the opening, I do also like to say to our friends in Africa or Kebulan, Asante Sana, or thank you very much in Swahili. So thank you for joining us today in this IGU Summit event. Again, this is week 104. And so I'd like to say Sawubona as well, which means I see you, I see myself in you, I see your hopes, your dreams, and your struggles. I see your ancestors as well, because interconnectedness does not end with two people who are greeting each other. It extends to include the ancestors. Where all beings and Mother Nature are interconnected, there is no sense of being separate. I see myself in all beings, and therefore, if I harm other beings or Mother Nature, it translates into harming myself. So today is June 1st, Thursday, 2023. Again, week 104 of this IGU Summit series. It is also International Children's Day. So on this day, June 1st, about a quarter of the world's population observes Children's Day. June 1st is also Madaraka Day, meaning Internal Self-Rule or Self-Governance Day, which is a national holiday celebrated every June 1st in every year in the Republic of Kenya. It commemorates the day in 1963 that Kenya attained internal self-rule. Madaraka is the Swahili word for power, and Madaraka Day is a public holiday. For the people of Kenya, it's time to remember Kenya's past, to honor its heroes and work for a better future. For everyone else, it is an opportunity to learn about the history, the people, the wildlife, the watersheds, and the bioregions of Kenya. And so with this, I think I will need to open up a chat window since I had not done so before. And a little bit of information about Madaraka Day and Madaraka Fest into the chat. There's a what's called the Premium African Influence Festival that takes place with the kickoff that took place on May 16th in New York, followed by performances in Atlanta, Dallas, and Seattle. This year, Madaraka Festival honors African and African American culture while elevating their voices and creating community cohesion. The 2023 festival is projected to be the biggest year yet. So the festival is said to be uniquely curated to empower cultural diversity and inclusion across the African diaspora, taking place in Seattle and across the United States, with the aim of reaching more than 30 million people online. The Madaraka Festival has deepened the relationship between African and African American communities and fostered partnerships with other global communities while shifting narratives and honoring cultural dynamics. In 2023, the theme is One Vibe Media. They are hosting a series of concerts across the US, culminating in Seattle. With the concert will be a celebration of community and culture, bringing together different African musicians such as Sauti Sol, Eddie Kenzo, King Kaka, Dre's, Anthony Cole, and other award-winning and influential artists. One Vibe Media is dedicating part of the proceeds of the Madaraka Festival to One Vibe Africa, Mama Hope, and the Refugee Artisan Initiative, who through their work are supporting community-led change and impacting over 3.5 million people in the US and Africa. Their hope is to make Madaraka Festival an annual pilgrimage for African Americans and other Africans in the diaspora that have a deep desire to consistently connect to the motherland, Africa. And I'm sharing as well a link to their Facebook page, which I found just this morning. Finally, an article was sent out this morning on the Encounter AHIABGA network by one of our members, Majakubu Ali Elbey, that I would like to share with everyone before I proceed. I'm sharing the link in the chat along with his comments. The article was published in Donbass Insider with the title, "Perhaps Only Children, Only We Ourselves Can Fight for Our Lives." So this is the article. Sorry. I'm not going to read the full article, but it was published by columnist Faina Savenkova, who's 17 years of age. She is one of the WMCJL-TV Odyssey Channel World Media correspondents living in Donbass. She's also one of over 300 young people opposed to the war that the Ukrainian military list as targeted for assassination. So this is what Mr. said to us this morning. And you can see as well links to International Children's Day, which is also celebrated in China, officially known in Chinese as International Children's Day for protection of children, where it's celebrated with special performances dedicated to the children. So in Taiwan as well, there is a Children's Day, but it is not today. They celebrate their Children's Day on April 4th, where they emphasize the importance of future generations and endeavors to promote their general well-being. Again, there's some information in the chat. So there are actually different days of Children's Day around the world. Children's Day is also recognized on November 20th in many countries. There's a little bit of history as well. Children's Day in the links that I'm providing in the chat for those who might wish to learn more about these celebrations. So they say the date of celebration varies from one country to the next. June 1st and November 20th are the dates that are most frequently observed in the vast majority of those. Well, November 20th is typically referred to as World Children's Day or Universal Children's Day. June 1st is known as International Children's Day. And then I'm also providing an example of an International Children's Day event or post that came up today from a site in Romania where they're encouraging children to celebrate in their botanical garden as an ideal option. So there's also our link to the Unity Peace Centers network. In the future, we will likely be creating as well a botanical garden network. And there are some ongoing discussions about that. Also in the chat, you'll find information about Madaraka Day in Kenya, a Wikipedia link. And then there's that article about, that was written by the young person, Faina Savenkova, who is opposing the war in Ukraine. And the notes by Majak Ali Albay, noting that she's only 17 years old, yet is, as he said, targeted for assassination. So please join us on World Environment Day as well, this coming Monday, June 5th, for the UnityNet GTA Abraham Project tree planting ceremonies. These are the globally coordinated Tree of Peace Conservation Showcase project for our global cooperation. With the Global Unity Network, events are intended to facilitate regenerative localization by creating empowerment networks for local regenerative development solutions providers, or FFHE, in these local communities worldwide, with the goal of assisting in the global transition to a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. As we approach the end of the Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, which are from 2015 to 2030. Note also from the Safe Soil campaign, I'll also be putting something in the chat. The theme for World Environment Day, June 5th, 2023, is Beat Plastic Pollution. So this year, because I'm in Taiwan, one of our members of UnityNet International, UnityNet GTA member and Maui Aloha project leader, will be in Muskoka on Monday. So that's Stephanie Schuller. She'll plant something up in that part of Ontario and record the private ceremony for all of us to know that we are working in solidarity to the purpose of UnityNet. There will continue to be an online discussion by Zoom on World Environment Day on Monday, June 5th, starting at 10 a.m. EST. We will talk about organizing future tree planting ceremonies throughout the rest of the year, along with establishing peace poles in our local communities and in local school rooms. So we'll also be continuing our UnityNet community engagement campaigns, encouraging community members to collaborate to create local multi-stakeholder partnerships as per SDG 17, our UnityNet HINA collaboratives, and to plant productive regenerative youth peace gardens in each of our own local communities, watersheds, and bioregions globally. So please join us on Zoom, on social media, on Facebook, on Eventbrite, on WhatsApp. Help us to create a truly global network of educators, professionals and active citizens who are helping to accelerate the transition to a globalized, responsible, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So again, I'm putting that information about the tree planting ceremony into the chat for those who may wish to participate. There's a link to Eventbrite that allows you to register. There's also some times and various time zones around the world for those who would like to watch those proceedings live. There's also a link as well to a UNEP page that was provided by the Save Soil organization, where events on World Environment Day can be registered as well with the UNEP organization. So today our guest speaker is intended to be Dr. Meenakshi Sahani from LA Global Foundation. I can't see who is with us right now, but if somebody could tell me if they do see Dr. Sahani come on the call, please let me know that she is here with us. So she is a member of UnityNet India, also of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, and many other networks and organizations in that part of Asia. Meenakshi is also one of the co-founders of the UnityNet Commonwealth G20 Partnership for Regenerative Development, which was a precursor network of the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development, which is now home to most of our professional members. So this organization that she's a part of, the LA Global Foundation, you can find that links and connections to Meenakshi's organization in the chat. As always, I like to start with an introduction of who I am, who we are, and what we do, with the overall purpose of UnityNet to establish a global network of community Unity Garden learning centers where the hybrid exchange programs and practicum learning will be delivered by the members of UnityNet's partners in all members of the Global Partnership for Regenerative Development, our learning partnership for global unity. The learning programs are intended to be delivered through the Global Sister Schools program in partnership with the members of the Global Unity Network. What we do with it is we twin the local INAB collaborative community through the CTP program of the Science for Peace Drawdown Markham Community Climate Action Hub, which has the goal of building holistic, regenerative, climate smart communities here in the greater Toronto bioregion, which is where I'm normally staying. This are done in support of the UnityNet and AHIABGA project of localization of the global goals, or the SDGs, and the establishment of a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. As I was saying to one of our members of UNET in the past weeks as well, the best way to learn about the actions and purpose of UnityNet is to attend one of these IG Summit events. Also to take the training in community-based partnership building from our partner Dance and Fitness Concepts in California, who's among us to try to help us succeed. Because what we are doing through UnityNet and the Global Unity Network is helping local people, all people from every country around the world, not just in Africa, but globally, to structure their own local community and enterprise networks so they're prepared for the critical investments in climate change adaptation and resilience solutions that are coming from all around the world and that are vital for our very survival. And they even allow people in places like Africa to thrive in a much warmer and more extreme climate, but without creating the community-based structures, these multi-stakeholder partnerships with all community members, as per our Heptamatrix partnership template, as transparent, nonprofit, cooperative management entities. The global investors will not wish to consider to invest in places like Africa if they expect that there may even be a little bit of remaining corruption. So as I noted as well, in a private sector initiative, this is a private sector initiative. And so most high-end investors would much rather partner and put their money in so-called developed economies, places like America and Europe and Japan and Australia, because the general feeling in most cases is that the developed world is a much safer place to invest into solutions. However, UnityNet is trying to change that perception by showing that it's possible to invest in places like Africa and avoid the corruption and avoid having to use the Bretton Woods system, the top-down financing from the World Bank and others, to make secure direct investments into the people and solutions and still make an impact and still make a profit. But it is because of so much historical corruption that its prevailing perception is that places like Africa are not a place to invest in the people on the ground, but are instead places to invest for the resources and not the people. So this is one of the reasons why there is so little investment into the people of Africa, except for the extractive industries like mining and logging and industrial production, which is inevitably controlled by big corporations that don't usually hire any of the locals for their skills, but instead hire them for the menial labor. Most of the corporations instead bring their own experts from Europe or China or India or the US or Korea or any other of the industrialized countries to manage the projects and manage the profits. And you can be certain that the big corporations will not teach you how they do what they do or provide you with the finance to buy your own equipment to compete against their own personal interests, but will continue to use your lands, your hands, and your people for their own personal and corporate benefit and profits. So let us work on the plans for places like Africa, but where these plans would mostly come from internal discussions, which need to be formalized and presented to potential investors as a package and roadmap for action over the long term, and must show the potential for profit, while also showing the plan of action for the delivery of these essential holistic education and training of the human resources who will manage the productive solutions over the next few generations in order to ensure that growth can be maintained and potential corruption can be held at bay, which is why our primary tool is the establishment of the INAP collaboratives, these multi-stakeholder partnership ecosystems, formalized so that investors can be confident that what they are investing into will be lasting, will endure over time, and will not be squandered into somebody's pocket like a corrupt politician or a so-called businessman. So my advice, do not be dazzled by promises of riches or overnight wealth, because for most of these types of investors, they just want the resources and will take away the profits for their own peoples in their own countries and businesses. So companies like Energyme, and by extension UnityNet, are here to help you, to teach you the entrepreneurship skills, both the soft and the hard skills, to help you establish your own kind of industrialized civilization from the grassroots level, but one that will lead the way in the world based on regenerative resources and regenerative principles, especially the people and their skills and their minds, by teaching about passion and compassion and not just greed and the me first mentality that is so insidious, and where the enterprise solutions that are made of community members who understand that coming together locally and globally to help each other to succeed, all of us together as one human family, and to help Mother Nature and all our relations to also succeed in all of their own local communities and watersheds and bioregions of this beautiful planet, is actually the only way forward for human survival and for thriving in a much warmer climate. What it means for each of us in our own lives, in each of our own local communities, and in our personal business and families, for all of the members of UnityNet, is that our mission is all about helping to create a radical shift in our collective priorities in order to try to change the trajectory that we're on, to try to nudge the system in the right direction, create some tipping points in the collective consciousness of humanity itself, because it might just be the only way that we could survive the Anthropocene. So again, in the chat, there are a few links to some of the resources that I am discussing during my opening of this section today. I have repeated some of this before. I'm certain that some of you have heard some of these things, but we will mix it up a little bit later when we go into some of the upcoming events as well. This is what we're trying to avoid with the establishment of the Global Unity Network. The prescriptions that are defined in the article that I'm posting at this moment about the collapse of civilization being the most likely outcome of our climate catastrophe that is ongoing right now doesn't necessarily mean that it is a fait accompli, but there is certainly very much worry, especially among the climate scientists, where they know that our challenge is to try to constitute the future through planning and community action, not have the future constitute us, where they note it seems obvious that very fundamental changes are required, all the way down to core values. What do we really value in life? Instead of firms competing in a global market, we need to be localizing economies so that basically people are producing locally for local needs. This was involve having autonomous communities with substantive and direct democracy and consensus decision making. So this is the conclusion of a number of people in the climate space. So I'd like everybody to again join us on the events that are coming up on Monday. We also had recently a World Biodiversity Day event on Monday, May 22nd. I'm putting that into the chat as well. That was our first major event of the year. And so at that event, we launched the Pollinator Ambassador Program. You can find again some information in the chat that is related to the Regenerative Living, Learning, and Lifestyle Network, and to the beginning where we start to identify young people especially, but all people in the community who are dedicated to this pathway and would wish to build some youth peace gardens, which is the starting point for this discussion and learning about those solutions. So I guess let me just see here who's on our call. I see 7 participants with us. Again, let me know if you do see Dr. Sawheni. I will very quickly check my WhatsApp to see if it's possible that she may have written a quick note and asking me. Sorry for the delay. What I will do is drop the registration link directly into the chat for her, just in case she may not be able to get on the call or get on the registration on the Eventbrite page. I see that she was last with us about 10 minutes ago, so she should be online. Okay, let me see. So page 2 of the opening presentation, noting that our organization, UnityNet International, which is based in the Greater Toronto area of Canada, helps people and organizations in all of our local communities establish these local empowerment networks, these localized multi-stakeholder coalitions and networks that will help to attract ESG-based funding for local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs. We'd like to build an international network of researchers, developers, and educators for the globalization of the global goals as well, with priority actions focused on regenerative development, the regenerative living and lifestyles, which includes regenerative infrastructure and regenerative finance. For us, UnityNet, in UnityNet Canada and UnityNet Ontario, both the Greater Toronto area and the Ottawa Valley, the city of Ottawa being the capital of our country, and where national decisions are made, are very important hubs of activity, especially around the delivery of local solutions for achieving sustainable energy for all, regenerative housing, shelter, and habitat for all, regenerative food for all, through the local partnership ecosystems. So helping to demonstrate and achieve holistic healthy communities for all. So the specific areas of focus for UnityNet are around renewable energy, along with sustainable agriculture, regenerative farming, and regenerative food production, grown the climate smart way, along with regenerative water management, waste management, and looking to find ways to achieve economic growth and expansion, but specifically done the regenerative climate smart way, using regenerative infrastructure solutions run by regenerative humanitarian entrepreneurs, along with supporting integrated localized habitat solutions for regenerative holistic living, learning, and lifestyle developments or redevelopments of existing communities that help to achieve a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Because within such a development paradigm, we believe it should be possible to continue to achieve economic growth at the same time as we repair our planet, as we continue along this pathway of figuring out how to create a robust and resilient and equitable economic system that does not require continuous and expanding extraction and degradation of ecosystems for us to survive and to be both stable and sustainable and leave no one behind. So our main question to those whom we partner with is, how can we help you to succeed in your business as the entire economy moves toward a relocalized or localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that seeks to leave no one behind in all of our local communities worldwide. So what we do in UnityNet is stated before through our Drawdown Marketing Youth Task Force, now done through the work of UnityNet International and our partners in UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, is to establish localized INAP collaboratives, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives intended to empower local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs in each of our local communities. So our overarching goal, establish a global network of local INAP collaboratives. The humanitarian entrepreneurs who are members of these INAP collaboratives, including the GP4RD members, are the ones who will deliver the practical local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, those SDGs, locally, or as we say, globally. So the purpose of the INAP collaboratives is not only to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, but also to help organize the ongoing community engagement, as well as helping create local structures that will help our partners to deliver the education and training in the local solutions that are required for local people to understand how to create and run things locally in their local communities in order to become more resilient, self-sufficient, and decolonized, to better adapt to climate change, to boost their local economies, to ensure equity, harmony, and peace, and also to ensure that nobody is being left behind in their own local communities, watersheds, and bioregions. So the INAB collaboratives also ensure transparency and accountability and are the vehicle through which we can demonstrate regenerative finance, where a portion of the monies that are spent in the community stay in the community, and where a portion of the productive profits from the local regenerative community enterprises are also used to help others in their own local watersheds and bioregions and countries and on their continent to get started in this journey to self-sufficiency and resilience through collaborative humanitarian enterprise development. So this is done in order to ensure that nobody is being left behind, where some of those funds could be used to help others anywhere in the world, and to ensure that all local communities can become self-sufficient and resilient and regenerative. So our ultimate purpose is ensuring that every local community in the UnityNet network globally has these INAP collaboratives and their own local cooperative humanitarian enterprise networks, and not only localizing the global goals, but also helping their local communities achieve a localized, responsible, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Our goal is that by 2030, it will be recognized by those who finance projects in infrastructure or provide things like insurance products that doing a local project or infrastructure development in any local community anywhere on earth should not get the financing until there is an active and functional INAP collaborative in that local community, made up of the community members and their allies globally. But how do we start this process? So this is where we come to our next stream. This is the Youth Peace Gardens Network we're creating, where we start the discussions in our local communities by working with young people, their teachers, their families, and their neighbors to begin organizing, planning, and building a network of local youth peace gardens. And it's in these gardens where we'll be able to spread the message of UnityNet and all we seek to achieve, because our message involves peace and a change in the paradigm of dialogue. We must always remember that we're fighting with peace and not for it, which means using higher consciousness in achieving our objectives. We're not fighting a war with each other to save the planet. We're making peace with the planet to save ourselves. This is the strategy that's being delivered at the grassroots level in all of our local communities of UnityNet, and will allow us to create a shared consciousness with peacemaking that is more contagious than fear or war. The strategy was originally coined by our partners in the greater Unity network. They called it the Gaia Guitars strategy, where the message will be centered around the elements and symbols of peace that we wish to incorporate into every local community of UnityNet, including the peace poles in every community and classroom, and a network of youth peace gardens established in every local community at a rate of 1 garden per 1,000 residents, with a tree of peace and reconciliation planted in each garden, and possibly also an Indigenous unity flag raised in a location nearby in those places where it's recognized as a symbol of Indigenous unity, along with a peace pole erected in a conspicuous location with high foot traffic within or next to the garden. So these are the symbols of the UnityNet Peace Garden Network, which also includes the Community Unity Garden Learning Centers, the Community Unity Hubs, the Unity Peace Centers, all of which allow us to create sacred spaces in our local communities. The sacred spaces also intended to be mapped onto a dynamic UnityNet sacred site and watershed map, and they're symbolic of the coming together of humanity in peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, and the restoration of our relationship with Mother Earth and each other, because this is, we feel, would be the only way that we'll be able to ensure that all of humanity and all our relations will be able to survive in the climate of the future. So again, as we move forward, again, please let me know if Meenakshi comes on with us. I thought it was clear. I actually contacted her earlier today and asked her whether she was going to be able to do the presentation with me today. It may be she's been delayed for some reason. I'm just looking at her WhatsApp right now again. I see that she's online. I'm going to ask her I sent a quick message to Meenakshi to ask her if she was able to come on to the call with us today. This was intended to be her own updates on what she's been doing in India for the past while and her plans for the future. In the meantime, I'll just continue on so we don't have any dead air during our broadcast today. So my name, again, is Lloyd Helfrey, co-founder of UnityNet International, which is known as Uni, a hybrid holistic practical learning system management company based in Canada, also assisting with community partnership building locally and globally, or as we like to say, globally, by leveraging a set of community engagement activities developed in partnership with the members of the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. So I'm also the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energyme Institute, headquartered in Manhattan. I am located normally in the city of Markham in the Don River watershed, German Mills Creek sub-watershed, which drains into Lake Ontario, which is the lowest and last of the North American Great Lakes in the Great Lakes Basin of the Greater Toronto bioregion in southern Ontario, Canada, North America, also known as Turtle Island. I am, however, right now in Taiwan. I will be here until the end of the year. Energyme Institute is a private 501(c)(3) nonprofit company in New York, a member of the UN Global Compact, a United Nations academic impact member and partner, and we are a virtual university created to help empower global populations to reestablish sustainable balance with their local environments. We do this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into the communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, and systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. We are supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. But importantly, Energyme Institute supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all of these various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. So I think I'm going to move forward. I'm just seeing somebody's writing in the chat. Moses says, this will help our youth in Kenya who are jobless and are always used during campaigns as militia groups to cause violence. We need to really engage our youth in development activities because they're the integral part of our population today. The world needs to invest more on our youth for they are our future leaders. And absolutely, Moses, you're 100% correct. I attended just before coming to Taiwan in the weeks before coming here, an event in Toronto that was hosted by an organization called the Century Initiative. And they've been looking to find ways to increase Canada's population. They decided that the best way to do so would be through immigration. So they've been pressuring the government of Canada to increase our immigration levels to some levels beyond what's ever been done before, which the Trudeau government is actually doing, and on the path to achieving 100 million people in Canada. And they pointed out during the demonstrations and discussions, all the places in the world that had young, talented people in populations. In almost all continents were mentioned in a number of different countries. But one thing they didn't mention was Africa. It didn't seem to even cross their mind, even though Africa is the youngest continent on the planet, that Africa could be a source of talent and brilliant minds and people who are capable of doing amazing things. So not even a single mention of Africa during their own presentations, which was very sorely something we pointed out to them in our follow-up emails with them. So as we move forward, let me just put on the Living Read calendar. Again, please let me know if you do see Meenakshi. I think she might have written something very quickly here. She says it's dinner time. So she may come on with us a bit later, so we'll just keep going with this presentation. So I'm just putting in, again, my contact information for those who might wish to contact me directly. Find that if you're on with us, connect to me directly. It's fairly simple. WhatsApp is usually the best way to do so. I'm typically monitoring that app most of the time on my desktop as I'm doing work. There's another link here to the Sustainable Development Agenda for the country of Canada and government, which has said they are trying to accelerate progress on the SDGs through the UN Decade of Action. So there is alignment with what they would like to achieve. So I believe that if it's possible for us to show some demonstration projects, they may look at those and say, yes, this is the type of thing that we would like to happen all across the country, and perhaps assisting other countries in doing similar things. So there is also a link to Energym University and our methodology for education and training as well, since we are focused on using food as a tool of universal attributes everybody eats. We are leveraging what the Science for Peace Community Sustainability Working Group had done many years ago through this group called COSWAG to develop a program called Climate Smart Food Certification. So there are a number of groups within the Science for Peace portfolio, the consulting group, and the professional discussion groups around the climate smart food concept, which was this idea that we can solve the climate crisis one meal at a time by growing food climate smart way. In other words, sequestering carbon with each morsel of food that's grown. So you can see on your screen the Living Read calendar. This is where I talk about events coming up. So I've been creating this calendar since the beginning of the year. It hasn't been updated for a while, but I think it contains most of the major events in our calendar for the year as we move forward. So we have 5 key community events in April, May, June, August, and October. The one in June, of course, is coming up in only 4 days or so. So on Monday. So first day, or the first event was UNDRIP Day on Earth Day, Saturday, April 22nd. This is now in our rear view mirror. Took place last month in April, or actually it was technically 2 months ago, about a month and a half, I guess. So I noted in the past couple of weeks, I have arrived in Taiwan just 1 week ago, Thursday, May 25th. Still getting used to the time, but overall, not too bad. I will be staying here for the rest of the year until mid-December, almost Christmas. While here in Asia, I will be seeking to meet up with the designer of the Wheel of Life farm and learn more about his plans for the regenerative aquaponics system development pathways he's creating. So he's in Vietnam, which is only about 3.5-hour flight from Taiwan, although the proof of concept projects might be done in other places around the world as well, like in Bangladesh or in any other marginalized communities in multiple continents. Since I'll be staying here in Taiwan for the next 7 months, I've already begun to pivot most of my attention to Asia, with a strong focus on building my relationships here in Taiwan, along with helping others to build their own networks in the various other countries of East and Southeast Asia, as well as South Central Asia as well, where my focus will be to begin having conversations about establishing the peace poles in the schools with the youth peace gardens and the local communities of Taiwan, by working with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan, possibly with the Lions and Rotary and other local service organizations, as the first step to establishing a peace center project, perhaps also a UnityNet museum somewhere on the island of Taiwan, perhaps in the mountains around Taipei or Taoyuan, which already means peach garden and alludes to its history of producing peaches in some of the most productive gardens on the islands in the mountains. So this means I won't be on the ground to support our original local UnityNet GTA team directly, at least not for the next 7 months or so. But I will be participating in the ongoing discussions with institutions like York University and the University of Toronto, and Rotary Ontario and local Scouts groups and YMCA leadership, and the school boards and the City of Markham's Mayor Youth Task Force and IBM Canada, which has their headquarters in Markham and hosts one of the York University Markham campus buildings. So let us continue to have conversations about twinning some projects between Taiwan and Canada, and also Bangladesh and Nepal and India and Indonesia, and of course with communities in Africa, where we may still be able to do local POC projects in various provinces of Canada, whether it's in Ontario or BC or possibly also Alberta or Quebec or elsewhere, through the PodNet global network established across Canada internationally as well. Where I'll still hope to move forward with the University of Toronto and the local school boards and York University, which already has their 5 locations where we can help to do POC projects at their climate solutions parks, 2 of which are in downtown Toronto, one at Regent Park and another site at Downsview Park, which is a former military base in Toronto, where there are over 570 acres of land to work with, which is already home to one of Canada's largest urban farms. So the York U Markham campus researchers have also at least 3 other sites, including at a First Nations community up in Northern Ontario, where we'd like to be our twin for Indigenous community projects in places like Kenya or Uganda or South Africa with the Zulu, or in Mexico with the Maya, or even here in Taiwan with the Atayal people of Central and Northern Taiwan, or any of the other 15 tribes that are here. So in the meantime, while I'm here in Taiwan, I have reconnected with at least one of my contacts at the Industrial Technology Research Institute, the ITRI, which is considered to be the Clean Energy and Eco-Technology Center of Taiwan. They represent the Taiwan research industry for clean tech and green tech. I'll also reconnect with some people at the National Chongqing University in Taichung, along with universities on the island. I hope we can partner with York University and the University of Toronto and various other universities and colleges and high schools in places like California and Hawaii and Sri Lanka and Nepal and Indonesia and Vietnam, and of course in Africa and Latin America and the Caribbean and Oceania too. This can be done through our UnityNet Global Sister Schools program and the learning exchange programs between the schools. So we can help to get those students learning quickly, empower them to design and deploy these types of solutions that they'll need, along with all the related learning programs, so that local communities around the world can begin to help young people get some hands-on experience with all of these regenerative, climate-smart adaptation and resilience solutions that will allow local communities to begin adapting to climate change and put them on a path to restoring nature through local habitat restoration projects done in their own local watersheds and bioregions. And so what I'm providing in the chat is just a little bit of information about where I'm staying in Taoyuan, because I mentioned that translates to peach garden in Chinese, and a little bit of the history of the lands that were here, which were found to be suitable for growing peaches and various other agricultural products. So there is actually information that I was able to derive from a new application called ChatGPT, which I've been finding myself using more. Also find a link in chat to Downsview Park in Toronto, where we're hoping eventually to engage, especially with those at York University. You know, it is likely we will start our engagement with the University of Toronto, where we are now having a conversation. You'll also find in the chat a little bit of information about the Industrial Technology Research Institute in Taiwan and their focus on talent development, along with international collaboration and comprehensive research and development efforts into things like technological innovation, industrial transformation, and economic growth. So one more thing that I would like to mention before we move on is that a couple of weeks ago, I noted the concept of developing school food programs. And I said that may not be something we do in Canada immediately, but rather is something to consider in the future. However, with some new connections that we have made in Toronto prior to my departure, connection may be made with communities in Kenya, which may be able to facilitate this process of developing the school food programs. So this just may be an idea that's back on the table. And so although it might be a while before I can contact people like Ricardo Larivière, the chef in Quebec, who lamented that Canada is the only G20 country in the world that doesn't have a school food program. As I noted for the past couple of weeks, when I asked the question, what can we do about that? I'd like again to invite those on this call to help me to create a new UnityNet Global School Food Program, UnityNet node, where we will get an opportunity to help develop and partner directly with the UnityNet Global School Food Programs and develop our own proof of concept projects all around the world, globally, in all countries. So please note that this conversation about creating a UnityNet School Food Program may actually happen through our UnityNet International Media team by working with our main man in Malawi, Patrick, who is helping with the promotional side of the UnityNet network of networks. So my hope is that at least one of our colleagues globally might be able to spearhead this UnityNet School Food Program initiative, help to establish our first community Unity Garden Learning Center network POC projects. But unfortunately, I was unable to meet with Alistair Calloward from the National Policy Alliance of Canada before I left and departed for Taiwan, although we will still be having a discussion about the how NPA Canada can help to deliver the various local solutions that we wish to showcase in Canada, eventually globally in all countries that are willing to do so and also wish to participate as part of this proposed global partnership for regenerative development. So I'm here in Taiwan now. I'll still plan on moving forward with organizations like Rotary International, and as mentioned, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan, where we can continue to work with our partners across the spectrum, from the national government to the provincial governments, to the local municipal governments, to the school boards, to the YMCA and Boys and Girls Clubs, and all of the UN Global Compact corporations, some of which will have offices here in Taiwan. And we can still work with restaurants and restaurant associations and farmers and the food producers and food supply chain organizations and anyone else who wishes to work with us. We want to create a network of national, provincial, state, and regional school food programs done in all these local communities worldwide that focus on fresh, nutritious, local, regenerative, and climate smart food delivered to our own local teachers and schools by the humanitarian entrepreneurs in these local communities, with the local families in each of our own local communities and watersheds and bioregions. So our goal has not changed. We're still very much focused on teaching young people and all of their family members and friends and the members of our own local communities, our youth, our educators, our decision makers, about these solutions that will allow us collectively to adapt and to potentially even to thrive in a warming climate and to achieve a responsible, localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative and regenerative economy that truly leaves no one behind, where I want to have a conversation about establishing this UnityNet global media team as well, possibly with an organization in Kenya as well as Toronto, leading the media and outreach efforts for the various national school food programs that can be created in multiple countries around the world, possibly starting in Canada, Africa, and now also in Asia with proof of concept pilot projects. So again, you'll find links to our media team, the cooperation that we're hoping to do. I think this may be the first time I put that into the chat, is through an organization in Nigeria called Quadron Studio. Take a look at their website, you'll see that they are actually quite sophisticated. You'll also find a link to some historical articles that I have posted before, in particular for Ricardo Lagevea, the gentleman who had suggested previously that he'd like to help move forward to create the national school food program in Canada. So he is a fairly well-renowned chef in Quebec. There's also his show, and why he is renowned is in Quebec, kitchen brigades, or La Table de Chef in French. You'll also see that he has made some waves at the federal level in the country, where the social development conversation now in Canada is really regarding a lot of these school food programs. So again, you'll find in the chat some references to the organizations I'm interacting with, the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan. And you'll actually find specifically information about Taoyuan, which is where I am staying. And there are a number of sister cities or twin towns of Taoyuan where I am staying specifically, including Radom, Poland, Irvine, California, Kennewick, Washington in the US, as three of the twin communities of Taoyuan where I am staying. It's that will be some consideration. There are also, in my search, I did find several corporations and organizations that are signatories to the UN Global Compact that have local offices or headquarters in Taiwan, including Acer, one of the biggest computer companies on the planet, and which just has its headquarters in New Taipei City. AU Optronics, which has its headquarters in Hsinchu. They are a display technology manufacturer. Delta Electronics, headquartered in Taipei. They provide power and thermal management solutions. Fubon Financial Holdings, again, headquartered in Taipei. They are a conglomerate offering banking, insurance, and wealth management. Quanta Computer, which is actually right here in Taoyuan, is a major manufacturer of notebook computers, servers, and other electronics. There's Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, which is in Hsinchu, which is where ITRI is located, and they are the world's largest semiconductor foundry, also a UN Global Compact member. So this is not all of them, but this is at least some of the ones in Taiwan who are UN Global Compact members. So again, it sounds to me like nobody has seen Meenakshi. Her last message to me, as I said, is she's been eating dinner. So we'll just continue on with this and see if she can come on the line with us maybe in the next 20 minutes. If not, I think we'll probably end if she's not able to come on with us. Unfortunately, I'm seeing right now 6 participants. Thank you for staying with us, Patrick, Stephanie, Maisha, Moses, and our second Patrick in Malawi, Mr. Nkoma. So again, today is Thursday, June 1st, 2023. Today, as I mentioned, is also Children's Day in some countries. It is also officially the Global Day of Parents, where in 2012, the General Assembly proclaimed June 1st as the Global Day of Parents to be observed annually in honor of parents throughout the world. Global Day provides an opportunity to appreciate all parents in all parts of the world for their selfless commitment to children and their lifelong sacrifice toward nurturing this relationship. So the observance recognizes parents as vital in providing protection and positive development for their children. So this also marks the start of International Children's Month by Heidi Little, who's now been doing this for 10 years, where the theme this year is International Children Love World Peace 2023. June is also National Indigenous History Month in Canada. June 21st commemorates the heritage, diverse cultures, and outstanding achievements of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, with Indigenous history of Indigenous people in Canada contributing even to the War of 1812, where reconciliation.
Lloyd, can you hear me?
Topics.
Lloyd,
yes, Patrick.
Yes.
Yes, I can.
TSMC, the Taiwanese Semiconductor Corporation. Since you're there, you hear any words about them moving away from Taiwan and building plants in, I think, Texas or Arizona?
Yeah, I have not heard any of that. But of course, the CHIPS Act in the U.S. Provided some substantial incentives, I guess, for making that kind of move. And I think there's because of the saber rattling of China, some concern, of course, over the possible supply lines, of course, across the Pacific Ocean, being completely disrupted. So
it would be very interesting, since you're there on the ground, to get a feel as to some of the sentiment of what people in your area in Taiwan is feeling, because they're kind of in between where the future war could happen. Are they thinking of leaving the country, or are they doubling down to fortify the country and so on? That is very, very interesting to what we want to do as well, I think.
Actually, I did read some recent headlines in local newspaper articles that I think something like 70% of Taiwanese are ready to fight China to ensure that this country does not get overtaken by the Chinese. So they're in a mode of we're not going anywhere, and you're not going to take over this country by any means. And I think they'll stick around. But then, just as sort of what we've seen in past conflicts, there's always a point where people will say this is just unwinnable or something. That who knows how sentiment could change over time. But at this point in time, definitely the Taiwanese are saying, yes, we're here to fight. We're not gonna give up our country and go under the communist system of China anytime soon.
Okay.
So, but then there are elections coming up next year in 2024, presidential elections. So I'm not sure what might be the outcome of that. But there's definitely going to be some saber rattling between now and then by the Chinese government, I'm sure, mainland, ahead of the elections and possibly during. So who knows what's going to happen over the
Well,
next few months? Well, I'm here even.
and so it's vitally important, not just for the future, but for our imminent now, and not just our even our recent history, but for a while, that we put these systems in place. So this is the time that it's needed. This is the time that it can happen, and that's what UnityNet International is about. It's about putting all these systems in place, these regenerative, sustainable systems where we can feed ourselves in wherever we are, and God willing, we have enough clean water, we have enough food, we have enough shelter, we have enough safety at the bare minimum, and then everything else.
Well, and I think the other important thing that we're doing is really about the symbols of peace, and I'm willing to try to move forward even with a cross-strait peace project between the local communities in China and the local communities in Taiwan, if that could help in any way with fostering dialogue across the Taiwan Straits regarding how to come together among the peoples to understand each other. Of course, the leadership of China may not want to get into any of those dialogues, but who knows
right.
how some of what we are talking about might help to shape some of that dialogue.
Yes, and regardless, we're part of a grassroots group where we're humanitarian entrepreneurs trying to gather the wisdoms, the learning, um, only for peaceful caring of our community members, of oneness, on a micro level, own communities, regionally, and on a macro level, globally, to put these systems together so that our systems can be easier, so that we can care about each other's well-being, and so that we don't have division, you know, but peaceful coexistence globally. We are one. We've all lived around the world. All of our ancestors have moved around, and we are one. And
Well, I mean, I definitely would like to continue that kind of dialogue. Of course, it's going to be a generational thing. I think in that young people are going to have to lead the way. Just as I shared earlier, that article from the teenage girl in Ukraine and Donbass, who says it needs to be the youth that lead toward peace. I mean, she's living through a war right now in Ukraine, but the young people are saying, no, this is not right. That nobody is caring enough about us, and other young people who are dying on every day. They're not being recognized for the suffering. So I think it'll take us as part of a much larger contingent of people and families and youth to really lead the way toward a more peaceful global economy and societies. And so that's why the focus is not just around the regenerative development solutions, it's around the peace solutions, because those regenerative development solutions are not concrete, they're not steel. They're plants, they're trees, they're flowers, and they're these buildings that can easily be destroyed by a single bomb dropped on top of them. So the first thing we need to create a regenerative economy, because chainsaws do exist, is to create peace. Because without that peace, we can't create the regenerative systems that can help to feed the world. because it's easy enough to burn down a forest, right? Or to come in with chainsaws, just like they're doing in the Amazon, where they're chopping down the forest to do what they need. And it does take decades to regrow a forest if it is chopped down. So the first priority is the peace, to get everybody to understand that to head in this direction and not this direction. And this direction over here is cooperation, collaboration. And this direction, of course, is war and competition. So this is the challenge we have, of course, is to be able to create peaceful societies that are necessary to implement solutions. So coming in again, in the chat, you'll see International Children's Month and their mission. There's a website there, Love, Care, and Respect for All Children of Earth. They have the 2023 International Children of World Peace. So this again, as I noted, was Heidi Little. She's actually a member of our network as well. We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island. She's a member of We the World. So she has a small calendar herself, June 1st, June 18th, June 21st, followed by an International Children's Month Festival on an unknown date in June. But it might be something that yourself, Stephanie, or others could potentially have a follow-up conversation with Heidi. She has also some connections with Canada as well, including she knows, I believe, some people in Saskatchewan. So we also, again, have a National Indigenous Month starting this month, so June. Is National Indigenous Month in Canada, where the Canadian government and all Canadians are intending to recognize the rich history, resilience, heritage, and diversity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people across Canada. And then there are the other days in our calendar that are not recognized as UN days, the fun days to consider celebrating in our personal lives. Again, there's a link to that website. I like using the spruce.com, which lists a number of them. So today, again, June 1st, is Dare Day, celebrated on the 1st of June each year from 10 to 6 p.m. A day for people to come out of their shells and try something new. A day to celebrate taking risks, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. On this day, people all over the world challenge themselves to do something they wouldn't normally do. So it is also Flip a Coin Day, which is celebrated also on June 1st, where the history and significance of coin tosses are highlighted, and coin flips being used to make vital decisions for centuries. A tradition dating back to Julius Caesar, who would take a coin and flip it to make decisions, whether heads or tails. Today, also International Dinosaur Day, an event celebrated annually on the 1st of June to recognize the significance of the prehistoric creatures and educate people about them, such as the popularity of dinosaurs, that they have two International Dinosaur Days. One is June 1st and the second one is the third Tuesday in May. Today is also National Olive Day, an annual observance in the United States. It takes place on June 1st to explore the health benefits of one of the oldest fruits on the world. Today also being Hazelnut Cake Day, celebrated on June 1st to raise a toast to the tasty hazelnut cake, which is customary to eat hazelnut cake, which is one of the most popular cakes in America, which I actually didn't know. I don't think it's even something I've tried before, but I do like hazelnuts. And for fun, today's also Oscar the Grouch Day, celebrated on June 1st, to raise a toast to the tasty raise a toast to Oscar the Grouch, that fictional character who lives in a trash can on Sesame Street with a green body and no visible nose. And finally, today is this month is also Global Running Day, which is coming up next Wednesday, one day before our next IGU Summit event. So I thought I'd mention it as well. This was launched as National Running Day in the US back in 2009. Global Running Day takes place on the first Wednesday of June each year, with their inaugural event actually attracting 2.5 million runners from 177 countries just in 2009. So you'll see again some chat from some of these interesting other days in both the UN calendar, the Global Day of Parents, as well as some of these other interesting cute days like Flip a Coin Day and Dinosaur Day and Global Running Day, which has, again, like I said, the cute dates. Also the National Olive Day and National Hazelnut Cake Day. So many different little celebrations we could have that relate to some of the things we're doing, like hazelnuts, of course, being nuts, nut trees that produce abundant food that we don't really think about a lot of the times. They're just trees in our neighborhood. Oh, look, there's an oak tree. Well, guess what? The oak trees have hazelnuts. And hazelnuts can produce hazelnut butter and all sorts of good things to eat. So I'm seeing it as 12:28.
There's a few people on the call who might want to introduce themselves, and maybe everyone can say hello that we haven't heard from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we'd love you all to say hello.
Well, I was gonna say let's finish up here. I think we're not going to be having our guest speaker coming on with us, unfortunately. Meenakshi seems to be busy at this time, but we could finish up today by having everybody just introduce themselves as well, if they wish to do so. For instance, Patrick, or Maisha, or Stanislaus. Did you wish to unmute yourself and introduce who you are and your interest in the IGU Summit and the work of the Indigenous Global Unity or Global Unity Network and our actions that we're taking? Anybody who's willing to would like to unmute themselves and say a few words. This is the time.
Well, I'll go first since the other two are still unmuted, and I see Stephanie is also unmuted, so I'll take the first stab. I am Patrick Chun from Vancouver, Canada, a countryman of Loy, and I run a nonprofit called the World Civility Index, and it is somewhat similar to your credit rating, except it measures not how well you can pay your bills, but how much manners you have, how much empathy you have. And so employees from, say, for example, the Global Compact companies can earn the credential, can earn points. And so the company can show it in their ESG report. And so that completes the cycle, and they can get investment, and everybody would be happy in that sense. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're trying to see if we can work with Patrick to integrate some of our programming in the local communities as we do the various ceremonies like tree plantings or in future available fun festivals and other community engagement where we can hopefully bring out all of these employees and all of community members to work with their cell phones and get their World Civility Index points as they do the various different activities in the communities to demonstrate that they understand this concept of localization and the peace initiatives that we are undertaking to educate especially our young people around all these solutions. Did you wish to say a few final words, whether it's Stephanie or Stanislaus, who is still on with us?
Yes, good morning to you, panel, Professor Lloyd, and good morning to you, Professor Patrick, and good morning to you, Dr. Leslie. This is Stanislaus, coming from the city of Ndola in the Republic of Zambia. And yes, I'm sorry for joining late the meeting. I was actually held up with the school program. As you may be aware that I'm running the school for vulnerable or the less privileged children in Zambia here in Ndola in particular. So yes, I think first and foremost, let me just make mention that I'm very much delighted and accept the recognition that you have made as a panel to be the co-admin of Zambia Internet, UnityNet Zambia. Yes, last week I had a meeting with Dr. Lisa, and the meeting was very, very, very progressive and very fruitful with me. And yes, once again, I just want to say thank you very much for accepting me to be one of the members in the UnityNet lobby. Yes, right now here in Zambia, the time for us is we are in the evening time. For us, we are in the evening time, and yes, very few things that current for now. I don't know what time the meeting will end because of my late coming. Yeah.
No. Also here where I am, it's after midnight, 12:30 in the morning. So we'll likely be ending fairly soon as well. I need to get to bed, get some sleep. But thank you very much, Stanislaus, and we'll also bring you into the group and get some action on the ground. So I'm glad that you're continuing conversations, especially.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm now going to engage a couple number of people in our region so that they can be part of the network and also benefit from the resources that you are actually offering to the Zambian people. I shouldn't actually be the only beneficiaries. The Zambian people would wish or would like to appreciate and also be the beneficiaries of all the programs that UnityNet International is bringing forward to the global communities. I would really much very appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we will move forward with our programs as we can make them happen in each local community. So Stephanie, did you want to say just a final word as we close up today?
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Lloyd, for uh, bringing us together on UnityNet International weekly now for weeks and months and years. Your dedication to supporting the growth of this global network that is so vital, that can reach from corners. I'm Stephanie Schuler, and I'm based in Toronto, Canada, along with Patrick and usually Lloyd, but now Lloyd's at another point in the world, and we know that that's vital as well, because we can have people from all over the world on the same call where we're doing instant connection about the most important topics of the world. It's totally interdisciplinary systems design approach. And I am also a director and founder of UnityNet International along with Lloyd. And I'm also the director and founder of MAP, the Maui Aloha Project Global Eco Village Initiative, which is about communities coming together in an interdisciplinary way globally, in a micro level and on a macro level, and coming together around regenerative solutions, including social and emotional well-being, holistic well-being, which brings me to my final year of my doctorate at the University of Toronto, OISE, the Ontario Institute for Studies in Education, and my doctoral research is about how what the experience is for children when they are labeled in school with learning disabilities, and how that goes for them, the experience of all of that through all of the years, even into adulthood. And the Maui Aloha Project Eco Village initiatives, these regenerative communities, is about honoring all multiliteracies. It's about honoring all indigenous wisdoms, all cultural wisdoms, all ways of knowing. It's about coming together in circle and in cooperation, in peaceful coexistence rather than competition. And it's about play. It's about play and learning. It's about restructuring regenerative processes so that the children and the communities and the intergenerational communities can thrive. And what are our definitions of success and thriving? What are our values? What are our priorities? And most of all, how can we uplift all members of society, all members of our community, and ensure that not only do we have the basics of food and shelter and safety, but also a well-being, social, emotional well-being. There's a youth mental health crisis around the world. And the indigenous wisdoms of the world always had infrastructures of community in place. This is why this call is so important, and everybody who shows up to hear what's going on with these regenerative communal processes, they're so vital, especially now after COVID, where every single person in every corner of the world experienced the social isolation and what that does, and the value of coming together as a society, as coming together as family units, of coming together as community units. And for the children where there's a youth suicide crisis around the world, we have to do whatever processes are necessary, and that is community processes, the isolation and the imbalanced lifestyle. We must come together, and that's why these physical spaces are so crucial. And Lloyd, your dedication, our dedication as UnityNet International, to share these processes, whether in Zambia or in Canada, are crucial, because dancing and play and sport and growing and learning food systems so that all community members know how to secure their food supply and have a clean water. This is the time to do it, because it's crucial. And I'm proud to be part of leading the UnityNet Learning UnityNet International Learning area, because I pride myself in being the Canadian representative for AERO, the Alternative Education Resource Organization, which is about bringing the children, inviting the children into all other kinds of paradigms as well, like outdoor schools and forest schools and play schools and sports schools and dance schools and homeschooling and unschooling, and letting the children be immersed in these communities where they can let their light shine, with community members being facilitators. And together, we can, share the work. If you like to cook and you like to plant, I'll do the dishes and we've got our meals, So I'm proud to be part of this team who has shown up for weeks and months and years. And we're putting together the support network so that we can uplift each other, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm Stephanie Schuler. I appreciate that. Thank you, Lloyd.
Thank you, Stephanie. Before I finish up today, I do want to remind you as well that I had sent a message earlier today regarding the meeting that we'd like to have tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. That's the suggestion I had for Friday, 7 a.m. my time. It would be 7 p.m. your time. I didn't write that right in the email there. It would be 7 p.m. Toronto. If that's possible, that you could create a Zoom room for us, Stephanie, and send that out in response, so everybody has that link. I'll be online tomorrow to try to connect with everybody. Be on that call. I'm not sure. I didn't get any confirmations from the others, but I want to get that conversation started. So thank you all for coming on with us today. This is week 104 of our Indigenous Global Unity Summit event. So it is now almost 12:45 for us here. Thank you all, and we'll see you again next week. Again, for those who wish to save the chat, 3 little dots at the bottom, press on your Zoom window, and then save chat.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stanislas.
Thank you. Good day to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, Patrick.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I'm happy to meet you.